In this video, we're going to continue our discussion on the psychoanalytic theory of personality by going over Freud's structure of personality. According to Freud, our personality has three components: the id, the ego, and the superego. And our behavior is determined by the way that these three components interact. Let's go through each component one by one. First, we have the id. This is the primitive, instinctive, irrational, and biological component of personality. Remember, Freud heavily emphasized the role of the unconscious in determining our behavior. The id is unconscious, as it's described as instinctive, so it plays a major role in determining our behavior. Now, the id operates according to the pleasure principle, that humans desire gratification, such as sexual intercourse, and want to eliminate tension that results from the lack of gratification, such as hunger or thirst. To eliminate those tensions, you're going to want to seek food and water, which you can think of as gratification. And something else to note is, at birth, only the id is present. So that means as a baby, all we want is gratification. All right. Next, we have the id. This is the decision-making component of personality that operates according to the reality principle. And with the reality principle, it actually means that individuals often have to forego or delay gratification in order to meet the demands of the real world. Now, just to be clear, the ego is not the opposite of the id, right? The id wants gratification. The ego, it's not like it doesn't want gratification. The ego, just like the id, wants to maximize gratification, but it does so in a more rational way, such that it's able to avoid negative consequences from society. So, as an example, let's say you're at a meeting at work, and there's a coworker that you want to have sexual intercourse with. You can't just make it happen because that definitely would not be approved of. So the ego is going to prevent you from just immediately satisfying your gratification because it wants to avoid those negative consequences from society. All right. So finally, we have the superego. This is the moral component of personality that represents societal and personal standards of right and wrong. The superego strives for perfection, and because of that, it works in contradiction to the id. The id just wants gratification, while the superego wants to be morally perfect. And because of the fact that they're opposites to each other, the ego actually has to balance the two. In fact, Freud, in treating his patients with psychoanalysis, really wanted to strengthen the ego of his patients. So that really emphasizes the role of the ego in balancing the two. All right, those are the different components of personality according to Freud.
If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel and clicking the bell icon for notifications. We release new videos every week covering the highest yield content on the MCAT. Plus, you can check out the video description for links to useful resources like our MCAT Prep mobile application.